years ago, I found myself with pretty much zero motivation. I was struggling with incredible anxiety. I was really struggling to even get out of the house some days. And I looked around at my lifestyle and I thought, this is probably related to the incredible amount of booze I drink. So I decided to quit alcohol, just hoping that it would get rid of some of my anxiety and make life a little bit easier for me. What actually happened over the next 6 months was nothing short of incredible. Quitting alcohol actually completely changed my life. It was the number one thing that was completely holding me back from living the life of my dreams. Since then, I left my 9 to 5, I left the UK, I've got a YouTube channel, online business, and I moved to Thailand, where I'm having an absolutely fantastic time, as you can imagine, as a young man here. So in this video, I'm going to show you the steps I used to quit alcohol, the benefits it gave me, and hopefully if you're in a similar position, you can use the things that helped me. So boys, without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Alright boys, let's start with my booze story. There I am, 18 years old, nice young fella. Actually, when that picture was taken, just been down a casino all night. I was 18, I just got to uni, been down casino all night, drinking, gambling. I'd spent £1,000 of my student loan on the roulette wheel, and I'd lost it all, down to my last £50. And then I worked it all the way back up, and I come out of there with like an extra couple £100 plus the 1,000 I'd taken out. So that was a bit of a crazy one. My life was very much like that. So 18 years old, I decided I was 18 now, drinking wasn't illegal, so therefore I could do it whenever I wanted. That was going to be absolutely fine. I didn't understand in my head the impacts it might have on my life. So I just drank quite a lot, and at 18 years old, I started going down to the local shop, grabbing a few beers, sitting down at home after school doing my homework. This is before I even went off to uni, because at 18 I was still at sixth form college, sixth form school. So I was doing that. I was having a few beers at home, doing my homework. Me and my best friend Jack, we would go out every weekend in Peterborough, where I'm from. We would go to Cambridge as well, and we would just get absolutely hammered. And we thought, yep, we're 18 years old, we're living it up. This is what we're meant to be doing. And that actually, I struggled with that for about 4 years. Maybe slightly less, maybe 3 years till I was about 21, because I went to uni, and obviously one thing leads to another with booze, and for me it very much led me down the path of other drugs, and I become a bit of a mess head, if I'm being honest with you. My life was not looking too good. I had become a little bit crazy, and about 2 years ago now, I embarked on a particularly heavy Christmas with my girlfriend at the time. We went out, saw family, various different places around the UK, and just fucking drank, and we drove back in separate cars, and I remember driving back and not being able to concentrate on the road, seeing things that weren't there from my hangover, really having tough anxiety attacks whilst trying to drive back, and just thinking, fucking hell, I'm so far away from what I wanted to be when I was younger, the guy that I wanted to end up being. I'm just not that guy. I just have no confidence. I just don't feel good at all, and I've kind of put 2 and 2 together at that point, like maybe all this drinking has been a bad idea. So that was when I decided to start turning things around. Now, the main problem with drinking that I've found over my years of heavy drinking is what goes up must come down. So the reason I originally liked booze so much, because it made me feel relaxed or gave me this false sense of confidence. Now, the problem was that fake confidence, that feeling, you're using up real confidence in the real world. So I found that whatever goes up must come down, which means if you're getting extra confident when you're drinking, it means the 3 days after that you are going to have very low confidence and probably anxiety, because you've used it up. Now the problem is, when you're in the pub, when you are in that mindset of being inebriated, you've had something to drink, you are not getting anything productive done. You're not doing anything good for your life. So there's no point in having that confidence. And I also felt that it was not actually confidence I was getting. I was getting a numbness, and I was getting an unawareness to the consequences of my actions. So when I drank around women, I was never as smooth as I am when I'm sober. I was just thinking in my head less about the consequences. It got rid of that kind of anxiety, and that's what I used it for. The problem is that will come back 3 or 4-fold the next few days after you stop drinking. So it's gonna, one night on the booze will massively impact 3 or 4 days after in terms of how productive you are as a man, and that built up over 3 years can massively affect your life. I also got very sick. What a lot of people don't realise is that drinking heavily and other drug use, cocaine, ketamine, ecstasy, weed, they all reduce your immunity. They all reduce the amount your body has, the power your body has to fight disease. So I actually got very sick. I ended up in hospital, I think 3 or 4 times at university. This is me at hospital, because I'd gotten a throat infection. My body could not fight it. It had gotten worse and worse to the point where I could barely breathe. I couldn't open my mouth, could barely talk. I was just a dribbling mess. And they had to go and they had to inject it, like pull the pus out of by injection. And it had all come from drinking, smoking, doing cocaine. And I ended up in hospital, and I actually had this. They sorted me out, gave me very heavy antibiotics for my infection. Went straight back to it. Ended up in hospital about three or four times with the same thing, the same throat infection. So that's another thing. It is going to make you ugly as well. It's going to make you pale, ugly. It's going to give you extra fat. Like, alcohol is seriously bad news if you buy into that uni lifestyle. Benefits of quitting booze. So I decided to quit booze. It was January 1st, a couple of years ago, and I decided to quit. And just my life is just 10x since then. I mean, look at me now compared to me back then. Me as this guy, this sort of messy guy, and now the stuff I do in Thailand and the life that I live and the physique that I have is just absolutely crazy. And just a few things to mention is you get easy motivation. Before, things that were hard, like I remember waking up hungover, I could never take the bins out, I could never tidy my room, I could never get anything done. I lived like a pig basically, and that's because booze will steal all your motivation for the next couple of days. So as soon as I quit the booze, I had motivation back. I just thought, wow, life feels kind of fucking easy today. Like, no mood swings, I don't feel depressed, and I can get some stuff done. I've tidied my room, I had more energy, I wasn't arguing with people. I could be a bad person at times. After drinking, when I'm hungover, I was not a nice guy. I was also sometimes not a nice guy when I was drinking as well. So I had far less arguments. I was making a lot less mess in my life when I stopped drinking. And I saved thousands. I was a heavy drinker, so I was spending a lot of money on booze. I was spending actually all of my money, my spare money, on booze. I lived for a couple of years with just going between minus and zero. So I was just living in overdraft, earning a bit of money, spending it all. I never got out of debt over those 2 years. So I have been there, I've done it, and the benefits of quitting booze for me were huge. I started to actually get my life on track, save some money. I was able to go to the gym more. I signed up for a fight. So if I was going to run it down to you week by week so that you can see if you're in a position right now where you're not sure if you want to quit booze, this is how it sort of happened for me. So within 1 week, my crippling anxiety had reduced. So I got to a point where if I had a bad hangover, which was the majority of the time, I would get panic attacks about certain things. I'll start to feel sick in certain social situations, and sometimes I would struggle to leave the house to go anywhere. I would have to have a drink before I left the house. Now, after a week, although that first week was very hard for me, and I had sweats in the night, and it was pretty tough, after that first week, I was actually able to leave the house and feel quite comfortable, and I didn't have so much shakiness. I was always shaking. Ask anyone that used to know me, always a shaky guy, and I was always withdrawing from booze, and that's why I was always hungover. So all that reduced in just 1 week of quitting booze. I started to have no shakes, and I felt clearer in my head. By week 2, I had levels of energy that I had not had in a couple of years, and I had less bloating in my face. The water weight had come out of my face. And month 1, I'd use that spare time and that energy to create a plan. I was able to get clear in that month of not doing drugs and not doing drinking any booze, to think, okay, what do I actually want for my life? That's when I faced a little bit of a harder challenge, because after 1 month I was like, shit, there's actually quite a lot I'm really discontent with. There's a lot of stuff I need to change in my life. And that was a kind of a tough moment, because it's like you've got a long way to come. But it was putting that goal in place, that dream. I put a dream in place. How would I like my life to look? If it could look any way, how would I really want to be? And I put that down. And I was like, okay, so we've got some major things to change, and I'm no longer content with being this guy. Whereas when you drink, you can become content with not a great standard of living. You will just numb the pain, is basically what you're doing. Then I started to make major changes, started to believe in myself more, and I signed up for my first fight, and I trained really fucking hard, and then I won that fight, MMA fight, which you guys would have seen a video on. It's on my channel if you want to watch it. But that was a huge turning point for me. That was an amazing time in my life, and it boosted that confidence. Like, man, you've done this. You've let go of booze and drugs, and you're really actually going to change your life. And I got a better job, and I started saving money, and that was the tipping point for me. So that's exactly what happened when I quit booze. Now, one of my biggest fears, I was lucky because the pain became so much bigger than the fear. The pain of having this crippling anxiety, of really not being able to deal with hangovers anymore, was bigger than my fear of what would happen when I stopped drinking, because I'd built 3 years worth of social circle around booze. That is what we all did. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to have any fun again. And over the next 6 months, it was the fucking an amazing thing happened. I kept actually going out with those friends because I did like them, and I just didn't drink. And it took a lot of willpower, but I managed not to drink around those people, and I had the same amounts of fun, if not more fun, because I wasn't dealing with the consequences afterwards. And that's when I realised something very important. In the UK and across the world, you have probably, if you're a drinker, associated fun times, birthdays, Christmas, any good occasion you have associated in your brain to drinking. So you think that the pleasure, the happiness comes from the booze. And it's a very common psychological mistake. I then realised when I was sober that I enjoyed the company of my friends. I enjoyed going out and seeing people, and that was where the enjoyment was coming from. It wasn't being drunk the whole time. I could barely remember any of the past 2 years. I've complete lapses in my memory for about 3 years period of time where I can't fucking remember what I did. And that's the problem. A lot of people end up passing that every weekend of their life that way, and they don't remember the good stuff. And the pleasure actually comes from the friendship, companionship. Now I go out and do airsoft, I do fighting, go out on jet skis, ride motorbikes. That stuff's fucking fun. It's not sitting in a pub and getting out of your mind that's fun. It's being around good buddies and having a good time. Friends and family. This can be a problem because most people, if you are in a drinking circle, they secretly know deep down, and they want to. They are experiencing these problems. Nobody I know who drinks consistently has not experienced these problems. And the majority of them, when they're hungover on that Monday morning, are saying they don't want to drink much more. If you go sober, it's going to scare them. And it did scare a few people around me. Because if you can do it, it shows them they can do it. And then they've got to put pressure on themselves. So you've got to use some tactics. You've got to use some deception, some trickery to make it easier for yourself to stick to no booze, which is unfortunate, but it's just the way people work and their psychology. Ideally, you get away from these people. You need a new circle, but that can be daunting at the start. So what I did was this. You want to employ people to help you with your journey. So rather than making them feel like they've got a problem, you overplay your problem. So I would say to my friends, I've got a huge fucking drinking drug problem. My problem was the same as theirs. They were just as bad as me. Well, I didn't have a worse problem than them. Even a lot of them were worse than me. But I would say, look, I've got a big fucking problem. I'm heavily addicted. I can't have this anymore in my life. This is bad for me. I would like your help. And I would go to my friends and I'd say, I would like your help. If I'm with you guys, if you can really help keep me away from it, just keep it away from me. You guys can do whatever, but I really can't do it. It's not good for me. Keep me away from it. And that made them feel safe around it. Like, oh, Jack's got a problem, that's why he can't do it. They don't realise that they've also got a problem, and it makes them feel better. So then I'd have friends say, yeah, Jack, make sure you're not drinking, that sort of stuff, and they're looking out for you. And that can be a very, very helpful tool to use with friends and with family. Make it seem like you've got a big problem. Don't make them feel like they've got a big problem or try to change them. Hopefully by your example and the things that happen in your life, you will inspire some change in the people around you as well. When I first started, I had been programmed to expect to drink in social occasions. So if I had nothing to do with my hands, I would get a bit nervous and I'd feel uncomfortable. And also if someone asked me if I wanted a drink, I would feel awkward saying like, oh yeah, just a water or something. So what I would do is I would have my set drinks that I was going to get. I was going to go in, I was going to grab a 0% beer, the Heineken ones actually. These ones here I used to grab all the time. They were my favourite. And a lot of times at parties, nobody realises if you don't say anything. They just think you're drinking like everyone else, so the pressure's off. If you're in a bar, just say, oh, 0% beer, please. I'm training for a fight or I'm driving. No problem at all with that. Know what drink you're going to order when you go to the bar. 0% Heineken, please. Oh, we don't have that. I'll have a lime soda. No vodka. Just a lime soda, please. And stick a lime wedge in the top. Bang. People think you're drinking when you're around them. So that's what I would use around my buddies when I was having a good time. I have to say my friends were very good. My friends were very good. They made it easy for me to quit alcohol, and I really appreciate that from them. So that was awesome. And it would always just be kind of like we'd have a laugh. I'd have the lime sodas and stuff and do different things, and then I'd drive them home. So it all worked very well for me. I didn't instantly have to change my circle. But environment does play a huge part. When you are sober and you're trapped in a drinking circle, after a while it can become a little bit tiresome, because maybe you don't want to be around drunk people anymore. You realise that getting drunk is actually bringing out the worst in your personality. You're not smooth around women, and now you see that your friends aren't smooth around women, and that what they're saying is nonsense, and they're chatting a load of shit, and you don't like it anymore. Luckily, I didn't have that with my friends. They are actually completely hilarious when they drink, and we still had a lot of fun together. But if you are struggling with that and you now realise, okay, maybe I'm in the wrong friend group, fight gyms and normal gyms are great places to find people that are not going to be drinking as much, because fighters are very concerned with winning a fight. They don't want to jeopardise that with booze, because it destroys your muscle, it destroys your motivation. It's just bad news. And normal gyms, athletes, guys that are really concerned with their physique, they don't normally want to drink alcohol because they don't want to ruin their progress. Now, that is my story. That is how a couple of the things I used to overcome my alcohol addiction, basically. And if you want to, the way I actually solved my problem originally was The Easy Way to Control Alcohol by Alan Carr. I listened to the audiobook. That really helped me. I've listened to it about 4 times now. Every time I feel myself maybe slipping back into drinking. Now, boys, if you've related with my story and you kind of feel that your life is a little bit similar to what mine was like before, and you want to give this a go, my challenge to you would be, start by just giving up booze for a weekend and seeing how you feel. And instead of drinking, sit down and write out what you actually want from your life. Write 3 things you actually want to achieve this year. Write 3 things about yourself you would change in your current life situation. And then get 1 job done that you've been putting off inside the house, whether it be housework, work, gym, any of that stuff, and get one of those things done. Just start getting your life in order. Just the simple stuff you can do. Maybe it's just cleaning the house. That's all it is. Get up early over the weekend, eat well, and go to the gym. See how you feel on that Sunday or Monday morning. Have a look and compare your life to when you normally booze over those weekends. And if you really enjoyed it and you think, okay, this could add some positive effects to my life, continue it and try and get up to those 6 months, and I guarantee it will change your life. That's all from me today, boys. If you want to learn how I then went on to triple my testosterone levels, built a brotherhood, moved out to Thailand, the link is in the description for the triple testosterone course and the Gorilla Tribe, our networking group. It'd be great to see you boys in there. At me when you get into the WhatsApp, and I'll happily message you back. Apart from that, see you on the next one, lads. Whoop-a, whoop-a.